Hello! We're talking about pedal boards and effects that go on them and the little leads and stuff and the power and everything else, because believe it or not, if you get all this stuff wrong, it's a complete nightmare. Especially if you're running some effects in the front of your amp and some effects in the effects loop of your amp. Yeah, there's loads of videos about it, but they're just talking about how great these effects sound in your loop or up the front, because they're trying to flog you. I'm not trying to flog you any effects. I'm trying to show you something that's going to get you up and running really fast with a pedal board. You may have a pedal board right now. You know, you may have a pedal board right now, right? And you're thinking, it's really noisy. I'm going to solve that for you. Or you might have a pedal board and think, why do I get so much feedback? I haven't got that much distortion going on. I'm going to show you why you get probably, that problem as well if you get that. And loads of other things that can happen with your pedal board if you haven't got it all set up right. And there's a way of doing that. So I'm going to show you mine. That's probably the best way of doing it. And the easiest way to do that is to look down right now. Okay, so this is wah-wah, this is reverb, delay, chorus, octave thing. I don't use it much, I only use one thing on that. Phaser, this is a Green Mile Moore pedal. It's kind of like an Ibanez kind of tube screamer thing. It does, that's what it does. And that's a tuner. That's my radio link. For my guitar, and that's it really. Obviously this section here, this is a Joyo PXL Pro. Basically this is kind of interesting, but we'll come back to this in a second. Yeah, this is a metal pedal board. I don't know who it's made by, I can't remember. And then you've got your power supply, which is kind of just there. So let's kind of go over that. Let's make sure I got that in shot so you can see it. Right, so yeah, so the thing is, the most important thing is, believe it or not, is the power. Each of these has a power, 9 volt. It takes about 9 volts power supply, unless you're running something really mental, which needs 18 volts. But I'll come back to that another time. Right, but basically these all run on 9 volts. This runs on 9 volts. Right, and we've got this pedal train power unit here. So let's talk about the power unit first of all. This power unit has individual outlets. Right, this isn't a daisy chain. Right, what a daisy chain basically will only give you what it says on the on this adapter thing. Well, what we call in the UK adapter. If anybody from US is listening to this video, tell me what these are called in the US, because I don't know. But they're called adapters here, and this is a 9 volt. Adapter, which takes it from your normal socket into DC voltage down to 9 volt, so it runs your pedals. Now each pedal draws a certain amount of power, milliamps I believe, or something like that, right? So this might only be powerful enough to drive one of these. So if you've got this power supply, which a lot of them do, you'll run 3 or 4. And you're running them all at the same time, they're not going to be running at the correct power. Sometimes some pedals won't work properly at all, or they sound really rubbish. So it's really important to get the correct power supply. The other problem you have is if you use one power supply for many effects, even if you're kind of not using every one all at the same time, perhaps you're only using 1 or 2 or 3 at a time, it's going to cause problems. You need to isolate each power supply. If you don't isolate each power supply, what happens is you get noise, you get unwanted hiss. So if you've got a pedal board, and even without any distortion, it's hissing, and you're thinking, why is it hissing so much? That's your problem. And you'll be surprised how many gigs have I been to where the band's just set up and like everything's on, and you can hear the guitars going shh. I mean, not really loud, but you can hear it. That's that. 9 out of 10 times that's that. Or perhaps they've got something on which has got a lot of gain. But basically 9 out of 10 times this extra hiss or noise that you hear is down to that. So that's like the first requirement you need. The other problem that you have that creates noise is if you're running a pedal, right? Say it's this pedal, for example. Very interesting. This is a delay pedal, but this delay pedal, a Moore, that's 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 TC Electronic. But this Moore needs more power than that that, and that. In fact, it needs more power than probably them two put together. And don't quote me on that, but I know this requires more power than these do. So I have to set this so it gets a different power supply from here, because you can set this for different requirements. I think it's over and above 250 milliamps. But my point is, and sorry, I'm knocking the camera because I want to make sure you can see the pedal board. Right. The point is that so if you've got the wrong power supply for this, it's going to be noisy. Well, a lot of people don't know that. They just think, oh, it's a noisy pedal, or it's a cheap pedal, so it's noisy. These pedals are not noisy at all. Listen. It should be quiet as a mouse, and if it's not quiet as a mouse, it's your power adapter or your isolation that's the problem. So that's the first thing. Next thing, which is quite interesting, is this piece of kit here. Well, basically what this does, look, first thing I might add is that on the back of this it says DC 9 volt. I don't think it tells you on this unit how much power it consumes, but if you try and plug it into the pedal power thing, ain't enough power, so I had to use a separate adapter for this to power this. The same with this. This needs a separate adapter as well. Or even though I think this is 9 volt DC, I've got separate adapters running this and running this, because this pedal train hasn't got a section with enough power in it to power that or power this, believe it or not. Well, I tell a lie, it has, but if I plug that into that or use that to power this either doesn't work properly and gets a bit funny, which I'll come back to in a minute, and this makes the line level really noisy. So that's just because there's not enough power going to it. Anyway, onto the Joyo. This is a Joyo PXL Pro. I've been using this for 2 years. So what I'm about to tell you is experience rather than the fact that I've bought some, and I need to justify the fact that I've bought it to tell you how good it is. It's a fantastic bit of kit once you've got it set up. But basically, I've been running this for 2 years now, and what this actually does for me is that when I tap on a button like that, or like that, basically it engages whatever effects on that channel I've pre-configured in this, plus it'll also trigger any amp switching. So for example, I'm running when I'm running a Blackstar amp with 4 channels, basically I can trigger all them channels. I can go to channel 1, channel 2, channel 3 or channel 4, all pre-configured in here. So for example, here is where I've set my normal rhythm crunchy sound, so that's channel 2 and the Blackstar amp. Channel 1 is clean, channel 2 is dirty, and channel 4 is even dirtier. I haven't used channel 3, I just don't bother using it. I only use 3 channels on a Blackstar, not 4. So so basically, what that is normal crunch channel, and I can just go, if I want to, I can go over to this one here, which is my lead channel, channel number 4. So that changes the channel on the amp, and also engages my delay. Reverb is always on. As you can see here, you've got 2 loops. So you can run your effects in the front of your amp, and also the other effects, which are like time-based effects, through the send and return of your amp, through the effects loop. I'm not going to get into effects loop and stuff, so if you don't understand that, I'm sorry, you're not going to get this. But basically, that's what this does. And if you can imagine it, instead of having, say for example, your amps switch here. So for example, there you are, you're in crunch and you're playing away and you think, right, I need to go to overdrive 1 for my solo. So you click on that and you think, oh no, I need a bit of delay and I need a bit of chorus. Oh, I'm going to put the reverb on as well. And boom. So basically you've got to click 3 buttons. With this, you just click 1 button and it's done. So you can look these up. This is a Joyo PXL Pro. I think they were made by somebody else, or had somebody else's name on it. I can't remember, a few years back. But there's another one out which is MIDI programmable, which is quite good. So if you've got MIDI capabilities on your amplifier, instead of having this trigger system, or if you've got other effects that got MIDI capabilities, you can run your MIDI through that. The whole deal with this, the whole idea, is that you can switch between amplifier settings and effect settings, or your effect array, by switching 1 button. Here's where the whole thing falls flat on its face. There's one more thing. is that one day I realised I was getting an awful lot of feedback. And I didn't actually understand why I was getting so much feedback. It's very interesting. I watched something on YouTube, which if I could find it again, I'll put it in a link. But I did look for it today and I couldn't find it. Whereby, what happened was, some guy was saying that obviously you've got all these leads in here. And a lot of people look at this and go, too many leads. Nah, I'll tell you what, I've run this through my guitar for 2 years. It sounds great. You don't really hear any loss of sound or any loss of top end or anything like that. It sounds great. But with leads, when you're running leads, is if any one of these leads becomes microphonic, and if you don't know what that means, it basically means if you've got a lead, if you plug one end of your lead into your amplifier like that, and then shake the lead around, can you hear it go clicking around and making a noise? If that's the case, it's microphonic. If it's microphonic, basically that's going to increase your feedback. This is a microphonic lead. This is not a microphonic lead. So you're going to get more feedback on your amplifier than you would have if it wasn't microphonic. I don't know if a lot of people know that. I don't know if that's common knowledge or not. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, I don't know. But anyway, so when you do this kind of setup, there's the things really to look out for, which is what this video is about, is look out, make sure you've got the right power supply for to suit the right product that you're using. Make sure that it's an isolated power supply, either these daisy chain things, like cheap and cheerful. I know it's great for getting you going, and some people don't care about the noise, some people do. But if you do care about the noise, then use an isolated power supply. I know they're expensive, but you can find cheaper alternatives that work quite well. But make sure it's isolated and it's got enough power to run all these individually. The other thing to bear in mind is your leads. Make sure they're not microphonic. But anyway, that's the pedal board. So the thing is not so many effects there. It's more about the right power supply, reasonably decent leads, that kind of stuff. So perhaps if your pedal board isn't up to scratch, you might want to sort of not buy that next pedal effect that really, screaming cat or whatever it's called. You're not going to use it. Spend the money on some a power supply block or some decent leads. I make all my leads myself because that's who I am. But anyway, hopefully this gave you some insight. Put some comments below. Anything, I don't care what you say, good or bad or ugly, I don't care. Just put something in the box and I'll catch you later.